Hello everybody, welcome back to Starting Out with Quantum Computing. Today we have a really exciting topic. Quantum computing's silicon moment has just happened. So this company, Quantum Motion, have just released news of their brand new silicon-based full-stack quantum computer. This is big news, so let's get into it. So to introduce the full stack architecture, we need to talk about what a full stack is. So an entire quantum computer is made of many intricate parts, which when combined together can be referred to as the full stack. Conceptually, we can think of the quantum computer as being made of many essential layers, and each layer has a part to play in the overall operation of the quantum computer. So let us outline an example of what a full stack is. So at the very core, lowest layer lies the physical qubits, so literally the things that are qubits, and the system that implements them. So these could be superconducting qubits, neutral atom qubits, photonic qubits, whatever. And these qubits are the fundamental building block of the quantum computer, and they'll be responsible for performing quantum operations. Just above, we'll have the quantum classical interface. So this is the system that connects the quantum computer to the classical world. This bridge between these two worlds is crucial for measuring and thus converting the quantum state into a classical state. And equally, the interface delivers signals such as microwave pulses directly to the qubits in order to change the states of the qubits as desired. So we'll call these two processes, or we do call these two processes, readout and control pulses, respectively. So readout means when we measure, and control means when we change the state of the qubit. Just above this, we'll have another layer known as quantum error correction. So this is just above the physical qubits, and basically, as you can see from one of my previous articles or podcasts episodes, quantum error correction is a set of techniques that tries to correct for qubit errors caused by decoherence and noise. And we can either choose a specific type of hardware that mitigates error itself, so it's inherently resistant to errors, or we can run a quantum error correction code, which will identify and fix these qubit errors. So the layer above, we will have logical qubits. And so if quantum error correction is successful, we can now form logical qubits. These logical qubits are essentially a group of many error-corrected physical qubits, and by grouping them together and representing them as one qubit, they become more resilient against errors and therefore more reliable when doing quantum operations. So just above this, we'll now have the QISA, which is the Quantum Instruction Set Architecture. And this defines the set of allowed operations and instructions on the quantum computer. So it basically says, okay, we can do this operation on a qubit on this quantum computer, but we can't do this. And we need this sort of instruction set because only certain qubit systems can perform certain restricted operations. So we can't have some unknown operation being fed into the quantum computer. Just above this, getting to the high levels now, we have the quantum compiler and runtime. So the compiler has to convert higher level instructions into operations that will actually work on the quantum computer itself. So essentially it's a translator switching from this very fancy and sophisticated software code into the native language of the quantum computer. And then the runtime is a system that manages the execution of this compiled code. So it handles tasks such as memory allocation. And so at the highest layer, we have the quantum algorithm. And this is conceptually at the highest point of the quantum computing stack. It tells the quantum computer what instructions to perform and in what order. And using efficient quantum algorithms, we can arrive at useful solutions in quicker times than classical computers. So let's talk a bit about quantum motion's breakthrough. So quantum motion is a global company, one of the leading companies in the development and manufacturing of quantum computers. And specifically in this case, although we can only go off the press release, Quantum Motion have managed to manufacture the first full stack quantum computer made of silicon complementary metal oxide semiconductor chips, or silicon CMOS chips for short. Essentially, these are the same chips used in normal classical computers, even in our phones, for example, in our laptops. And they have deployed this quantum computer at the National Quantum Computing Centre, one of the UK's leading quantum computing organisations. So this silicon qubit quantum computer is amazing for several reasons. Firstly, it exists as the entire stack, meaning it is a completely operational and self-contained machine. It doesn't require any external help. Secondly, it is compatible with industry quantum software, so that means that existing programs can be run on it. And thirdly, it is quite energy efficient and only requires the equivalent of 3 normal 19-inch server racks worth of power. Considering that it contains a dilution refrigerator which has to maintain extremely low temperatures, this is quite impressive. And finally, the silicon qubit quantum computer supports upgrades without any change to the overall system footprint. That is amazing. And so James Pal-Democ, the CEO of Quantum Motion, has said this is quantum computing's silicon moment. Since the architecture of the silicon quantum computer is designed using industry standard silicon chips, this makes the manufacturing of the computer relatively simple and quick. And it also means that the quantum computer can be scaled with ease and mass-produced, as it leverages an approach that has already been heavily used, i.e. in phones and laptops. In particular, Quantum Motion's tile-like architecture is designed to host millions of qubits, which would in turn allow for groundbreaking, useful algorithms to be realized and implemented. Quantum Motion's machine is being kept at the NQCC as part of the Quantum Computing Testbed Programme, in which 7 quantum companies have received a total of £30 million of funding. Quantum Motion itself was founded in 2017 by Professor John Morton of UCL and Professor Simon Benjamin of Oxford University. Together, the company has raised around £62 million in equity and grant funding in total. So, how does this silicon quantum computer work? A little bit more technically. And I'll give you a simple answer. The types of qubits, or the type of qubits that these silicon computers work with, are known as spin qubits. This basically means that the information of the qubit is stored within the spin of a physical particle, such as an electron. An electron has a spin. And so spin is an inherent quantum mechanical property that is similar to angular momentum. So they're not actually spinning, they just have this innate property. And amazingly, because these qubits are so small in size, we can theoretically put millions of them onto a single silicon chip. However, one of the main difficulties faced when doing this is the fact that we therefore require a huge and dense amount of control lines. And so these control lines are the lines which allow us to manipulate and measure qubits, even at extremely low temperatures, ensuring that these lines do not interfere with each other or the external environment remains challenging. Therefore, companies like Quantum Motion are likely to be using cryo CMOS circuits, which essentially they're the same as CMOS circuits, only they have the ultra cooling mechanism built into the wires. And so let's finally talk about some future prospects. I think this is really exciting and a fruitful avenue towards quantum advantage. Quantum Motion have a strong financial backing and are utilising a method which seems to have great potential for scaling. This will make quantum computers more commercially viable, which in turn will boost complementary sectors such as drug development or energy optimization, etc. Due to the fact that the silicon quantum computer is fundamentally made of highly developed, well-researched and scalable chips, it is expected that useful quantum computers will hit the market in this decade, so latest 2030. That's according to them. And I agree. Although there remains some experimental challenges to overcome, I'm feeling rather optimistic about this progression. Given the current growth of quantum technology, 5 years from now could bring unbelievable advancements. Perhaps we'll even have quantum laptops on our desks. Thank you very much for joining for another episode of Starting Out with Quantum Computing. If you're enjoying, please subscribe for more and make sure to share it with a friend who might be interested. Until next week, bye bye.